welcome Shiv Singh.
Thank you for having me, Joseph. Great to be with you.
You know, what I was thinking about is a year ago, maybe 13 months ago, both you and I, we have the same publisher. We're both at South by Southwest launching our books. You, a book about fake news and fake media and fake companies, and me about the demise of the corporation and the corporate apocalypse of business models and businesses going into essentially some kind of decline or ruin. Talk about prophetic on both counts. I mean, it's not a chest beating statement. It actually makes me like a little bit depressed even to think about how right we were and how much this has come true.
What was really at the root of the book is we saw what happened in the last economic crisis, in 2008 and 2009. And that's when we saw this dichotomy between what was going on Wall Street and how Wall Street was being bailed out, and the struggles of Main Street and how they weren't getting the kind of help that they needed and the support that they needed. And what that led to was a fracturing of shared interest and shared values in the country, which in turn led to a breakdown of trust in institutions and authority figures. You know, one can approach the fake news story from a million different directions. You can blame your political leaders. You can blame the media, and a lot of people believe to this day that they elected President Trump more than anyone else. You can blame the big tech companies, for what they've done or what they've allowed to happen on their platforms. You can blame Fox News specifically and certain hosts on Fox News, especially those that have the president in their favorites list. But the fact of the matter is we all unfortunately carry responsibility. We all, to put this in blunt, harsh terms, have blood on our hands when it comes to fake news. We take it in, we grab onto the fake news that makes us feel good, that reinforces our existing points of views. And then through the amazing nuclear weapons that the social network platforms are, we share it out until over time it becomes commonplace and it becomes fact. Savvy as a book is about saying we ourselves carry responsibility. We ourselves fall prey to fake news, and we need new skills and new tools to fight it. So rather than putting the emphasis on the big tech companies or the political leaders or Fox News or anyone else, we ask our readers to look inward and say, do you have the right skills and the right tools to fight the fake news? And this is what you should be doing and how you can get better at it. Because as soon as you do that, then no matter what is, shoved in your face via a television or a computer screen or an in-person conversation, you'll know how to filter the fake news out.
I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to believe, and I don't know who to believe. And I mean it. And I am a little bit more media savvy than maybe most. And I'll tell you, like, what I've started posting now is when I see a headline or something, I say, I just saw this, and if true, I almost have to like preface everything I say by the words "if true," because I know that I'm going to get attacked by clearly, in this particular case, people that do not share my political point of view, which would be typically people that support President Trump and the base. And I just can't take it anymore. I mean, like, how do you determine, how do you sort the wheat from the chaff? How do you figure out what's real anymore? It's debilitating.
Yeah. The tragedy is we've been struggling with this for a few years, and in the last election, that was the first time it got spun out of control. We didn't stress too much about it then because we didn't think the misinformation and the disinformation was impacting our lives as personally. Now with coronavirus or COVID-19, horrifically, that all changes instantaneously. So let me start with sharing a few suggestions that can help in the here and now in a very, very practical sense for everyone watching. When we think about news and information, we generally start top down. By top down, we often start with the national newspapers, the national TV networks, the national or global political leaders, and then slowly work our way to the governors and the councillors and the city mayors, or slowly work our way from Fox and CNN and MSNBC down to the local TV station. In this time, more important than anything else is to, just as many years ago you so smartly flipped the marketing funnel, we have to flip our news consumption patterns and start bottom up. So what I mean by that is, and not to put in a plug, too aggressive a plug for next door, but you want to know what's going on in your local neighborhood first. You want to know what your county health official is telling you. If your county health official, if you don't know who that person is, it's worth finding out his or her name. You want to know what your county. In my case, I live in the Bay Area at San Mateo County. What the cases are, infected, recovered, death. Even more critically, the amount of testing that's going on, because that's the most important number, I believe, that actually gets ignored. And then from there, work your way up to the state level. For me, it's the Californian governor, and then to the national level. And the same is with the news and the media consumption. So first step is start bottom up versus top down. It'll be more real, more practical, more useful information. The second thing I would say is narrow who do you look for guidance and expertise from. So you mentioned and I can't pronounce his name, it's so embarrassing, Dr. Fauci or Fauci?
Fauci.
Fauci.
At least I pronounce it Fauci.
Yeah, I'm going to play the Indian English accent card and say it's difficult for me.
I was thinking Sanjay Gupta. You don't know how to pronounce that name? I don't understand.
No, really struggled with that one too as well. So like with Dr. Fauci, what's really interesting about him is there are people who love him, there are people who hate him. Last week, Trump hated him. He retweeted someone's tweet which said that maybe he should be fired. But the point with Dr. Fauci, and why I think we absolutely should listen to him and listen to him again and again and interpret what he says more than anyone else, is for two reasons. Firstly, he has the expertise, he has the background, he's the one who's closest to what's going on. So when you're looking at all the kind of news out there, zero in on people like him. It's time that we went back to trusting the experts versus the ones with the biggest clickbaity type headlines. The second reason is this is not the first time he's dealing with this. A lot of people don't know that he did incredible work about the Ebola crisis, and then also later on when it came to AIDS and even helped out with SARS. The work was so good at that time, with these infections and diseases and viruses, that George Bush Jr. gave him the Presidential Medal of Honor. Now think about that for a moment. A Republican president, and it's a lot of Republicans and on the far right who are trashing Dr. Fauci. It was a Republican president who gave him a Presidential Medal of Honor for work that he did 5-10 years ago. This guy knows what he's talking about. So my second theme is think about information bottom up versus top down. The second is narrow your focus on the experts. And Dr. Fauci is one example of a true expert, and he has a history behind it. The third thing I would say that matters immensely in this time is always ask yourself, and we touch upon this quite a bit in our book, is ask yourself if the opposite is true. We live in really unconventional times. I mean, well, certainly starting March 10th or so, or March 12th. Everything we've known to be true isn't necessarily true. All our shared learning and information and knowledge and body of experiences that we have always lead us in pointing in a certain direction when we consider what is fact or what is correct and what is wrong. I would humbly suggest let's also flip that. And every conversation we have, we start by saying, but wait a minute, what if the opposite were true? What if, to use an extreme example, Fox News, and you mentioned you watch Fox and CNN both, was more accurate on something? What if, and I know you lean a little left, I lean a little left on the political spectrum, but what if President Trump was correct in threatening the World Health Organization for not doing more and telling them that he's going to pull back on the funding until a review is done? So I think that's the other thought, because it'll make us better when we navigate all the misinformation.
It's always trying to find the truth in the other side before attacking it and before dismissing it. And just being able to at least find a balanced point of view, right? Because as you know, the old saying, right? There are three sides to the truth: your side, my side, and then the real truth.
Oh, absolutely. And I think at a time like this matters more than ever. And then the last thing I would say along these lines is be really careful about what you share online. It's a time where we're spending, our days are going by, we're on Zoom calls, we're, socializing through Facebook and LinkedIn, and we're talking to friends electronically. But we have to be extra careful of what we share online, because we can be purveyors or carriers of not just the virus, but of the misinformation without realizing it.
We are basically shedding, to use the viral term, we are shedding fake news. It's a very interesting point of view.